Hey there, folks. Welcome to our ongoing series of The Between. Um, the Between, for folks who don't know, is a Victorian horror game that explores themes of forbidden desire, class, uh, empire, all that stuff. But before we get too far into things, I wanted to do a quick round of introductions for folks watching. Um, I'll start with myself, and then we can go. How about we'll do reverse character keeper order because I know that our American is sitting on the far left. I'm Steven, he, him. I am the GMing this run of The Between. I'm not. I'm looking forward to kind of pulling all our characters in. We have our new character joining us, and yeah. If we could start, then I guess that starts us on you, Kozaku. Kazaku.
Hi, I'm playing. My name is Ben. I he him. I am a LARPer, and I um am currently on a self-improvement kick. Before I go into a job in the spring, I want to become like an actual functional adult in ways that are more than I am right now. And I enjoy tea at 6 in the morning, and I'm so happy to play with you all. What else? I'm playing a custom playbook that's experimental, and I'm thinking of changing it pretty drastically, called the Pride, which is like a hive mind of cats. Um, uh, they're very fluffy, and they're learning about family and what it really means to live before they dissipate into their own content.
Yeah, and something just as a reminder, I had asked last session, but I should have sent an email to also send this reminder. You had invited a ghost to become a new cat in your pride. And eventually I'd like to know what that new cat looks like.
Yeah,
Um
it looks like a snow leopard with
great.
like red eyes.
Is it a cat-sized snow leopard?
Yeah. I mean, it is just a snow leopard, just
Okay.
up. And it's like if you look closely, like its fur it's not in totally embodied. Like there's like if you look closely, its fur kind of ghostly blends in with the background at its edges. So it's very strange. Um,
Cool. And I'll let you know, you can have as a free extra dong question. Uh, did I'll type this in. Did I hurt myself or another hunter in search of perfection?
that's good. Thank you. Let me write this down.
Yeah, and then let's continue along left, and I believe that brings us to our legacy.
Yeah,
I am
hi.
Brand. Oh, Legacy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, hi,
But
my name's David. I use he, him pronouns. And yeah, I'm playing the Legacy, Rory McClellan. Rory is kind of um, wiry Scotsman. I said alternates between kind of Highland dress and kind of brightly coloured tweed suits as the situation demands it. He comes from a long line of monster hunters. His sort of primary weaponry, inherited from his family, is a large claymore, not carried at all times, depending again on circumstance, and a wicked boot knife, a skiandu that he always does have on him. Yeah. I think last time we saw Rory, we saw him. We saw him having spent the night with a dock worker from Miswell Hill. Had a conversation with Kazaku, and then in the evening went out in search of the creature of Miswell Hill, or the miasma of Miswell Hill, I should say, and killed a somewhat creepy alchemist type they found doing experiments in his basement, though not actually seemingly the one responsible for the miasma itself. That was more of a a freebie, I guess.
Yeah, and then we have our undeniable.
Hi, I'm Brandon. I'm playing the undeniable Countess Annalise von Thorn, a woman who styles herself as a Viennese countess, although there have been many hints that she is something other than that, and perhaps not a normal person at all. She is red-haired, with gray silver eyes and perfect skin, a beauty that is kind of aggressively perfect, irresistible, and she is charming to boot. She has a cult that worships her that we have not seen yet, but that we may well, although last time we saw her offer to the old woman known as the Snow Queen that she'd become a worshiper, and which was accepted. And so that's our first hint of the cult, and the fact that the Countess may be more than what she seems. As the undeniable always does, she has an artwork somewhere which is reflective of her, but which changes in the ways that she herself does not. And the other thing that she did, besides make herself known to the Snow Queen and get information from her, was to comfort Kazuko when the latter was spattered with blood from this bursting porcelain vase, and to talk to the cat about the darkness, and that it was, and allay Kazuko's fears to some degree of the end of things, because that seems to be something that's very important to the Countess. She talks to the dead and the dying, and tries to soothe their transition. The Countess claimed to be someone who, to Kazuku, someone who opens the door, whatever that means, but she didn't explain further, as Kazuka seemed to understand the reference. So that's her.
Great. And now if we can introduce our new American to the group at Hargrave House.
Hi. So I'm Aniket, and I'm playing Snake Eyes Silas Fletcher, who is an American, very good with a gun, wears a frayed duster in black, so his pistol is not always obvious, but you can see it if you're looking for it. wears a purple silk neckerchief and has kind of a chevron mustache with a thick goatee. His vice is gambling with cards, particularly faro. And well, he has a very nice pistol, the 1851 Colt Navy revolver.
Great. As always, this game is hosted through the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet, for folks who don't know, is an online game community focusing on role-playing games of the indie and OSR variety, mostly. It, besides publishing a zine called The Codex and hosting several gaming podcasts, it also runs a gaming calendar. This and many other games are hosted through every month. If you're interested in joining any of the folks here or any of the other people on the Gauntlet, feel free to jump on through the link below, as the calendar is open to non-members. Before we have a new player here, so I'll just kind of go through our safety tools one more time. Besides the lines and veils, which is a living document we put together before play, which is sort of asks us several subjects that we want to pay close attention to safety-wise. Veils being things that we want to avoid showing up in the fiction in a described or visible way, and lines being things we don't want showing up in the fiction at all. Ask first are things that we're fine being in the fiction, but we just want to give a reminder to check in with folks at the table about whether or not they're okay with where the fiction is going. Besides lines and veils, we are also making use of the X card. If at any time you're uncomfortable at the table and need to remove something from the fiction, feel free to make an X card with your hands. Say X card, type X card in the chat. We will usually ask what is being X carded, but we'll remove it, no questions asked. And finally, besides the X card, we're also making use of script change. Script change is a set of terms derived from video editing that helps us talk about safety at the table and the fiction as it plays out. Pause lets us stop for a moment, talk about where the fiction is headed, make certain that everyone's comfortable, voice any concerns we might have, and then if we need to remove or change something. Fast forward is if there is something that you rather would see veiled for right now, you don't want to get into too much detail about it. We're getting really caught up in the nitty-gritty of something that is drawing the scene out too much. We can call for a fast forward and just kind of work out in broad strokes what happens and then move on to the next scene. We can also rewind, which is let's return to something that has already happened in the fiction, and then and rework or change what happened. Usually retcon something in, maybe because you realize in retrospect something is making you uncomfortable, or because you have a really cool idea that would make the fiction better. That is rewind. And then finally there's step by step, which is, or frame by frame, which is, I haven't used it much. Usually we go to one of the other safety tools first, but if there's a scene that we all agree that we really want to see, but deals in subject matter that makes us kind of uncomfortable, frame by frame is a way of us basically saying we're going to turn the safety tools up to max. We're going to check in regularly and make certain that everyone at the table is comfortable as the scene plays out. Are folks cool with those sorts of safety tools as I've described them? Cool. And of course, we also, as always, have the open door. If for whatever reason you need to step away, feel free to. If you can, let us know if and when you're going to return. That's always helpful, but we realize sometimes emergencies happen and that's not always possible. So yeah, with our opening spiel kind of gone through, the thing I wanted to sort of open on first is we need to put together some personal quarters for our new American. So I believe, if given what you mentioned, you probably took that move. That gives you a fastest gun in the West. So you can go ahead
I
and
should
add
add
that to your personal quarters, yeah, right now. But we're gonna go around and just because we have a new character here, I'm gonna have each person name a thing to add to Silas's quarters, and then Silas, you can also choose to add a thing to their personal quarters as well.
Okay.
So yeah, let's go character keeper order this time. Countess Annalise, what is something that Snake Eyes Silas Fletcher has in his personal quarters?
A lock of long black hair.
Sounds good. And the Countess might have in her quarters an uncut emerald about the size of your thumbnail.
Great. And Rory, what does Silas have in his personal quarters? And also, could you change your name in the Zoom if that's okay?
Yes, I think that Silas has a marked deck of playing cards.
And Rory, Rory might have a series. What is the tartan? The tartan is the pattern, right? Not the actual garment. It's a set of scarves with different tartans.
Obviously, one for each of your kilts, Rory.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, and then Kazuku, what is another thing Silas has in his personal quarters?
Yeah, Silas has like a very special bottle of whiskey. That's it's very aged. It has a very dark color. And he's just had it for, well, I'm not going to talk about his history, but it looks like it's decades old at least. Yeah.
And yeah, Kazuku.
Kazuku's, we should also note here, has a special rule to their personal quarters. Anything in his personal quarters can actually be used by anyone at the table.
Oh, okay.
Because he's a cat.
Many cats.
It's hard for me
He's
to
many
use.
cats, but he doesn't have thumbs, is the point.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
I see that you already have a bird. Very important. I think Kazoku has a torn little cotton pouch full of pills.
Thank you.
Cool. And I think that the last thing we'll add here to your personal quarters for now is, let's see. Just double check what moves you did go with. I think You have a marshal's badge pierced by a gunshot. I guess I should know, a U.S. Marshal's badge in this case, because I don't know if there are marshals in the London of this era.
I'm sure they're called something else if
Yeah.
there are.
Yeah, I don't believe so. I don't think there are
Yeah.
state police. There's just the army.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, David. Yeah, David.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's not really a kind of national police type
Yeah.
equivalent. I mean, even today, to be honest, is
Well, you've got MI5 and MI6, which are have national security things, but they didn't exist only since World War II, right? I think.
Yes, certainly in their current incarnation. Yeah.
And I think Scotland Yard of the period has much more wide-reaching authority than it does in the modern day, if only because it's like the only really kind of police force with that sort of investigative body attached to it.
Yeah, and they still perform some kind. Again, even today, so there are some specific things that they do, but yeah, they are probably the closest thing to like the FBI that we have, as it were. But yeah, I mean, yeah. No, I won't go into it.
But yeah, anyway, so yeah, that takes us through. Oh right, and we also have morning questions. I'm fairly certain nobody because I see that Rory does not have any advances marked yet, and I feel like you should have at least one mark if we've done morning questions as we're coming into the dawn phase here. Let's go through and quickly just go over people's morning questions, and of course this is an opportunity to change them once you have seen if you've taken them. Countess Annalise, what morning questions have you answered yes to? First off, we've all answered a question this last session. We didn't resolve a threat. Did you experience an echo in the night?
The unseen was the baker's son, right?
Yeah.
The Grand Guignol, and I don't think. Okay. Well, actually, no. Wait, a vase full of exploding vase full of blood.
It's during the night, though.
Oh, was that not in the night?
No, that was in the day.
Oh, okay. Well, then I didn't. I did express a preference for the beautiful over the mundane, and I did appear on the society ring of a guard fashion.
Cool. So you can mark 3 XP, which I think gets you an advance. And Rory, did you experience an echo in the night?
I think so. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was something to do with like the way the baker's son was like streaked with flour or something like that. I think there's something to do with being streaked with grime. But yeah, the exact thing is escaping me at the minute.
Yeah.
I think I did revel in the thrill of the hunt. And I did taste someone else's blood, sweat, or other bodily fluids.
Okay. So go ahead and mark 4, and that gets you an advance.
Cool. Thank you.
And then Kazuku, did you experience an echo in the night?
I don't remember what happened, so I'm gonna say no.
So I usually just as a heads up, usually I find it's very helpful to actually mark those check mark boxes as we go through them, rather than waiting until like the dawn phase, just because when there is a break between them, we tend to forget.
Yes.
But sure, what are your dawn questions? Did you learn in part the meaning of family?
Did I think in a ways the Countess and maybe demonstrated, right, what it means to care in a lot of ways.
Sure.
And that was really impactful for me. And before, did I forget who we were even for a moment? That was actually something else. What was it? Did I perform a soliloquy contemplating my impending doom? I did do that last time.
Okay.
Yes.
So you can go ahead and mark 3 XP because we also answered a question.
Okay.
And you can go ahead and also take an advance. But yeah, that takes us through our dawn phase. And we actually have, as of now, 3 threats out in play. So we aren't going to be introducing a new threat as a kind of heads up for our new American. We currently have in play the St. James Street Ghost, which they've answered the optional question for, but they have not answered the question they need to resolve the threat. It's been in play for a while, so I'm invited to start making things worse there, as a heads up. They also, as a result of the partial success on answering that optional question, they found out that the ghost is tied, somehow anchored to the infant daughter of the family. And that however else they try to resolve the threat, they're going to have to deal with that during resolving it. And there is also the miasma of Miswell Hill, in that there is a poisonous miasma that has overtaken the rookery of Miswell Hill. They have answered the question, is it generated by human hands or something non-human at work? It is, they decided that while there are humans involved, probably taking advantage of the situation or using it in some way, it is non-human in origin. Which means that the question we're going to need to answer there, that if non-human in origin, what is the nature of the entity killing the inhabitants of the rookery? And this was the thing that Rory recently, in a bloodthirsty haze, ran through the sewers of Miswell Hill, and murdered our eugenicist doctor. And then finally, we have the Nutcracker. There is a serial killer targeting the dancers at the
Royal Ballet.
Yeah, the Royal Ballet. Freezing them and sculpting their bodies into various poses, leaving them around the city. That I think, yes, sums it up. There have been some encounters there. Kazuku has explored under the hall, the basement of the ballet. Countess Annalise has had her encounter with the Snow Queen, a beggar of possibly more than human now, who's possibly more than human now. But yeah, that's where we're at. So here in the day phase, we'll throw it out to you. Actually, I'm curious, how do we introduce to Silas Fletcher? Is Silas newly arriving into the to Hargrave house as the episode opens?
I have a question, Silas. Are you like newly arriving to work here, or like have you been here before?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, have you been here the entire time? We just have been off screen. Like, what's the situation?
I'm thinking maybe I have been at Hargrave House before, and I was off on some personal business for some time. So anyone that is not recently arrived to Hargrave House might have met me before. Yeah. Perhaps I ran slightly afoul of the law and had to make myself scarce for some time.
Great. So yeah, how are we introduced to Silas during this morning phase?
I think if there's a parlor at Hargrave House, whenever you come back from your nighttime activities, you'll find me hosting a card game with some strangers in the Hargrave House parlor. And if you have sharp eyes, you'll notice that I'm cheating.
Great. Which of you is the one to come in first from the night?
I think it should be me.
Mm-hmm.
I will come in and I will stand at the threshold of the doorway until everyone has stopped playing cards and looked at me. And then I will go, greetings, gentlemen. It's welcome to Hargrave House. And I will look at you, Silas, and I will say, I don't believe we've been introduced. I am the Countess Annalise von Thorn.
Well, I'm Snake Eyes. You can call me Silas if you're a resident here at Hargrave House.
I am indeed, for the time being. You notice that she has a very slight Germanic or Viennese accent.
Mm.
Not something you can place exactly on the continent unless you're very familiar with that sort of thing. And she is undoubtedly the most beautiful woman you've ever seen. And you have probably seen some very beautiful women.
I have traveled.
I would imagine. She gives a winning smile and she says, please don't let me interrupt your evening's entertainment, gentlemen.
Would you like to join us? I know you folks over here across the pond, you're sticklers for your proper form of address, and I see you have a title. Do I call you Your Grace or just lady?
You may if you like, but Countess is more than sufficient, especially if you are or have been a resident here.
Indeed. Well, the game can continue if you would like to join us. There's no rounds or anything like that. You can jump right in.
I think I would like that very much, please. Deal me in, I think, is the proper way to say it.
Oh, it's not quite that kind of game.
Hmm.
And I'll start explaining.
Are you playing Pharaoh?
We are playing Pharaoh, yeah.
Okay, well, Brandon knows what Pharaoh is, so she goes. So she simply she waits for someone to get her a chair, and then she sits.
And
so
I'll ensure that everybody has. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'll ensure that everybody has placed their bets, and you might notice that I make sure that you win your first round.
I'm sure I wouldn't notice anything as crass as
that. In that case, you win your first round, but
that is to say, I might notice, but I don't seem like I don't seem like I notice.
Yeah, I think that the thing is we have actually walked straight into a vulnerable move here. Because Annika, Silas, you have invited the Countess to partake in your vice with you.
That is true.
So Silas does not have any conditions yet, but Countess, do you have any conditions that you could clear?
I do not.
Okay, so here's the thing for you, Silas. You can either invite Annalise to ask you any question she wants about your past, and you have to answer honestly, or you can stumble upon a clue.
Perhaps during our conversation about things that are going on in London.
Yeah. Perhaps as the game is wrapping up, I'll ask you to catch me up on the business of the house.
Which I will do in appropriately guarded language for the other players, but in such a way that you might, a discerning ear would understand them. Which of the mysteries do you think?
Maybe we can start with the St. James Street ghost.
All right.
Yeah. And
So I mentioned some things, and then of course you get to make up a clue.
Oh, I make up a clue.
yeah,
Okay.
you get to make up a clue. You just get to declare it. It cannot definitively like be, I find a text on exercising ghosts. It cannot definitively answer the question, but it can point to like any sort of resolution you'd be interested in. Or it can also just be something thing that you'd find interesting to add to the fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rory, for example, added a map of the sewers of Miswell Hill as a clue during an earlier venerable scene. And Kazuku added a real angel's feather.
Maybe come back to me. I'll think about this for a second.
Cool. Meanwhile, I'm wondering, Rory, you are returning from I mean, we could call it a bender. It's sort of a murder bender.
Murder bender. Sorry, the new phrase.
What is Rory doing during this day phase?
Yeah, so I think that Rory's probably going to come back relatively well, I suppose, depending on which way you look at it, either relatively late or early in the morning. There's obviously has some blood and the like on him, so I think he's going to come back, change clothes, have a quick wash, but I think then he's going to get back out investigating again. I'm just thinking where I want to wind up. I think I'm going to investigate the Nutcracker, and I think I'm going to do that by I think I might actually just go for the direct approach and just head to the Royal Ballet and speak with the director, manager, someone in a position of authority, and try and learn a little bit more about the goings on recently.
Cool. Yeah. So in that case, I think that we will move the scene here. Let me just kind of take a look at my locations here.
And Stephen, I kind of revised the in my current draft of the threat, I have a revision of the paint the scene for Covent Garden, if you like.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, in that case, we do open at St. Paul's Covent Garden, which is the home of the Royal Ballet and Opera. It is, as kind of Ben's chat here notes, something of a temple to the muses, while orphans pray. It is a temple to the orphans and muses, even as temple to the muses, even as orphans pray for salvation outside. It is just the morning, and I think as you are entering making your call, the icicles melt along the eaves of the garden, of the Covent Garden, appearing to salivate somewhat. And I'm wondering, Rory, amidst the steely exteriors of London, these halls normally vim with the magic of movement and music. What promise of sanctuary does the Covent Garden promise, even despite the current circumstances of the ballet?
I think that even sort of at the moment, the kind of the doors to the to like the foyer and the ticket office stand open. The inside, the inside, it's grand, grand architecture that sort of hints at a better life, and perhaps more important, more pressing, at least a couple of the sort of front of house managers here often turn a blind eye to a few kids kind of coming inside to get out of the wind and snow.
Yes, and I think you've come to let's see here, Zalia Ganon's personal office. She is a woman she's the director of the ballet, and is a woman in her late 40s, early 50s. She shows signs certainly of a strength of someone that was once a dancer in her early days, but she is strictly a choreographer and manager now. She wears a very tightly cinched corset, and is a very grand bustle in black and lace in the French design. Ah, Mr. McClellan. I believe that my assistant had let me know that you would be making a visit to our company on behalf of Miss Solomon's, our benefactor Miss Solomon's interest in the recent happenings here.
Indeed, Miss, we're obviously concerned about the losses you've had recently amongst your young charges, and I'm wondering if you can tell me a little more about them, or about anything any suspicions you might have about who may have done these atrocious things to them.
Oh, well, yes, losses. And she kind of has a little pout to her lower lip. Nothing that we could live without, but I do fear that eventually a murderer is going to come for one of our dancers of actual talent.
You you don't seem overly beset by grief, Miss, but well,
Sir, I am an artist, and the dancers are my clay. If I, a sculptor does not, you know what happens in the case of Galatea. A sculptor that loves his stone, her stone too much, loses sight of the end goal.
you might need to reconsider your use of analogies, Miss. If I didn't know better, I'd say that sounds like exactly the sort of person we're looking to find for a crime of this nature. But
She
I'm
waves
sure,
her
of
hand.
course.
It's some, of course, one can always take the correct understanding in completely, the mad always take correct notions in unexpected and unwanted directions. I am as interested in anyone in making certain that this murderer is brought to justice. I simply cannot lose sight of the fact that my duty is to making certain that the show, that the season continues without a hitch. Whereas it is your duty to make certain that this killer is caught.
Indeed, and that I can certainly promise you, Miss. Justice, I'm not so sure about, but I can at least put an end to them.
Yes, I suppose. And did you have any particular questions then?
You say the boys in question were not of your most talented dancers. Would you mind telling me a little about them, about uh, how they came to be here, and any reasons you can think of that someone might have wanted them dead?
Give me a roll with presence here
Sure thing.
for the information move. And the roll with me for folks here, I can pop that to chat for anyone that needs it. But it's also in the info tab.
That is a 6.
Nice.
Hmm. 6. Let's see here. I think I think that she gives you a look. And of course, sir. I understand that, as always, you're not the first to ask about our selection process and how dancers are eliminated. But I would kindly ask you that while I can offer any insight into the methods of the surrounding environs, I can, of course, offer no work. I can, of course, offer no insight into anything that occurs within our studio, and that includes the lives of our dancers. I believe you will find that if you were hoping to speak with any of my ensemble, but that would be unacceptable to us meeting our current standard, to us meeting the needs of the season. And she is definitely stonewalling you here. And I think, let's see, what do you have right now? You have I think you should perhaps keep your work outside of the studio going forward. And I think that you can take the condition proletarian. And she is definitely like, the other consequence here is that she is basically saying, you are not to have access to the dancers or the dancers during this investigation, if you want to accept that.
Sure thing.
So can't wait until Rory tells the Countess about this.
Yeah, no, that sounds fair for now.
Great.
I have two very brief things. One, I had scarred my reflection, but I had not said what it looked like.
Oh, right.
So the portrait of the Countess, which begins as a near picture perfect, well, more than picture perfect, an idealized version of this idealized person. The Countess as is seen by the mind's eye, but that no light, no normal lighting and setting could possibly capture. That when her reflection scars this time, it gets very slightly but perceptibly darker, as if the ambient light in the room where she was posing had gone from a generous sunlight to the slanting rays of the evening. And as a result, some of the colors in it are less, just the tiniest bit less dynamic, less perfect.
Sure, I'm fine with that. And as a reminder, because I realized Ben brought it up in the chat, but I also want to throw this as a reminder for folks. The Undeniables Gibbet has a kind of bit of text that applies to the other player characters.
Oh, yes, indeed.
If another hunter debases themselves at your feet, they may take the following condition, Worshipper. If they do so, they mark 1 XP and you scar your reflection. So long as they have the condition, the following is added to their Dawn question list. It is always marked. Did you continue to perfect your worship of the undeniable? You get to answer for them. If you say yes, you mark XP instead of them and give them something from your personal quarters, which goes to their sheet unmarked. So just, if you ever wanted to base yourself at Countess Annalise's feet, just saying, it's out there. But yeah, I was actually going to ask Kozaku, what are you up to during the stay phase? You're muted.
The camera opens up with like sepia tones on 18 St. James Street, and it looks somewhat worse for wear. The paint is peeling oddly, and people on the street actually walk across to the other side, so it is not near.
I'll also note, as you're there are several bobbies who are now actually seem to be at the house doing something.
Hmm.
There's something going on here today.
And the camera goes down to the street level and then actually around the residence to a back entrance, and it goes through the doorway of where the kitchens are. And we see, there's the onions drying hung from the ceilings, and there's still the smell of like cooking in the air, but it's now burnt. And there looks like to be signs of a struggle. There's pots and pans straight across the area. The leg of a table is somewhat busted. And we see there's a yelp from outside the frame, and it follows the sound to a pantry, where the camera sees splayed across the ground the remnants of the freshly slain of side character we've met before, Pythagoras, the family dog.
Okay, you killed them the first
Oh,
second.
did I?
Though.
Oh, I
yes.
forgot. I'm
Yes.
sorry. Okay, never mind.
Okay.
Instead of the dog.
You can kill a dog, but not the same dog.
Yeah, it's true. No, it's worse than that. We see a cowering woman holding a butcher's knife up to the camera view, as she says, please don't, I'm sorry, I don't come near me. And she's just cowering, going further into the pantry until she cannot go any longer, any further. And like the shadow that comes over the view is of a large, like furred beast, and then it's sprayed in blood. The camera goes red, and the camera opens up to a large snow leopard devouring a meal in this pantry of Irma, what's her name? Of Ms. Irma Thicket, the cook of the residence. And we hear it whisper, like a narration of across the frame. I will never be disabused again or kicked around. This is for the protection of my family. And you deserve this. And then it continues to take that, take a part of the poor woman and bring it back to Hargrave House. I think at least it continues to tear off part of her remains.
Okay. Do you envision a move here anywhere, or is this just?
No.
Okay.
I'm just thinking of what the ghost would do.
It's just hard.
Yeah, just checking.
Yeah. That's it.
I think though, if that is what you're doing,
yeah,
as you are dragging this, oh, where do I have that here? Here we go. I think this is the right one. Yes. As you're dragging that meat really out of the basement, a man dressed almost in, almost when it strikes us is almost a stage performer's idea of a academic. He is wearing a pair of pince-nez. He has a derby and a tweed coat and pants. Goes, takes a look at you and says, "My, you are having your fill of the staff here, aren't you? First the dog, and now the cook."
And I say, would you threaten me?
Ha, ha, quite a fine trick that. And he taps on his head, because of course you now can just speak to side characters mentally. And he takes off his hat, takes off his pince-nez, and it is a little bit almost. And I think it even pulls off the thick mustache he has on. No, it is nothing like that. And the voice is much different now, has a more reedy, more working class accent. I just was taking an interest. It's not many people that I know that can wear, like myself, that can wear so many appearances.
I think that there's almost growl, like a suspicious sniff of the air as the beast paws its way forward to size him up, because it's not truly afraid, and it breathes in, getting a scent of who he truly is. And I think this is an information move.
Yeah, this maybe sensitivity.
Yeah.
Give me a roll with sensitivity here.
I need to get so it's 2d6 plus.
Would you like to mark any of
yeah.
your personal quarters to get a advantage on this roll?
Yeah, I think I would like to mark the torn little cotton pouch full of pills,
Okay.
which I have consumed earlier.
Okay.
You hate spread pills.
Yeah.
You
It's a
silly
cat. What do you expect?
My cats wouldn't touch a pill if you wrapped the chocolate cake around it.
Only when you want them to, obviously, but like when you don't want them to, it's fair game.
This is the only way I could conceive of it.
Yeah.
And well, actually, maybe I drop at his feet, maybe not the pills, but another prize I have, and I cough it up, and it's sulfur encrusted cockatoo, and I spit it at his feet. And get closer, having presented a peace offering.
Oh, cool. Give me a roll with so do you think then is this presence instead, or is it still sensitivity?
It depends on his nature. I'm not sure, but I think
Like
it would,
you talked about breathing in and smelling it. Is that still how you're
Yeah.
trying to get information?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, sure. Give me a 3d6 with sensitivity then.
Okay. 3d6 plus 2. Alright. I have a 3, 6, 6 and a 2, so it's a 14.
Yeah. In this case, let's see. What clue could I hand out here? I think Oh. So I think, first off, I'm going to, rather than throw out the threat clue here, because you got a 12 plus, which means you get a mastermind clue. I think that as you attempt to smell this person in, there is the scent, you note beneath it is a over what is a scent of a man, of a regular human man. But there is almost something settling upon him, a scent that's been applied like a perfume or a lover's caress. It's a overpowering in your nostrils of a lover's not of a lover's of rotting flowers. And that's the mastermind clue here, the scent of rotting flowers.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I know. I'm just giving the mastermind clue first because I was thinking that's that I can more easily key into what you're doing here.
Copy
But
that.
I think he gives a chuckle. Such a fascinating animal. I can see why the mistress is so taken with you, cat. And he kind of inspects the cockatoo that you present down. Well, I'll take this as something, as a gift from my lady, from a creature she finds ever so interesting. And he pats himself down and I think hands you out a wax doll. Something I had taken as a little bit of a souvenir from the house yonder. I helped them out with their little ghost problem, and while they won't be seeing their ghost around the premises any longer, I should think that they'll be very worried now as to where their young daughter's gone. And so you can go ahead and remove the cockatoo from your sheet, but replace it with a haunted wax doll,
Yeah.
unmarked.
I think that the creature that is sparklingly white, even in contrast with the crimson slopped on its fur, it purrs in agreement, or in obeisance, or in acknowledgement of the gift that was given, and moves to brush against his leg as a thanks,
Mm-hmm.
and drags its meat onward.
Yes. And I think we'll settle in, I think, for one last day scene because and then I think we'll go into dusk. I'm wondering, Countess Annalise, Silas kind of called for a scene earlier. Do you have a scene you wanted to call for here during the day?
I think so. Does Rory tell me about his rebuff at the ballet?
Yeah, I assume we will at some point.
Yes. And then I'm going to speak to this woman. What's her name?
Her name is Zelia Gagnon, and I'm wondering, Actually, we might have two shorter scenes here if that works. Is Silas accompanying, or is Silas pursuing his own endeavors during the day phase? Or is he returning to that game?
I think Silas was thinking of going over to St. James Street to see if he can figure out what has been missed.
Ah, okay. Cool. In that case, I think that that will be a perfect place to open up the night phase, because I have some thoughts that are going to straight up go there. Where are you making your visit, Countess Annalise? How are you making this approach to her?
So I am dressed in an outfit that on anyone else might be a costume. It has a bottle green jacket and skirt, and a hat that's almost tall enough to be a top hat. Lace cuffs and lace spilling out of her décolletage. Jewelry, and such like that. It's a traffic stopping outfit. I'm escorted out of my carriage up to the front of the Nutcracker and inquire after Miss Gagnon.
I think that you're directed to a ballet studio where she is in the middle of supervising the training of several of the troupe's younger dancers. And this is a troupe that runs from, usually the age of 10 to 12 or so to older dancers in their 20s. But because of course after that you tend to see they tend to be retired past that age. But I'm curious here, as we open on this scene, we see the dancers in the background practicing jumps, some stretching their legs. And meanwhile, Chopin's Etude Opus 25, number 11, Winter Wind, plays down the hall. In what way does the studio echo the dramatics of the piano?
Metaphorically echo, I presume, rather than acoustically. The studio is a little drafty. And occasionally when the wind blows, the sigh of the wind is heard quietly in the background, as if to acknowledge Chopin's theme.
Yes, and we hear the voice of Zelia crying higher, higher, with more force. Come now. Surely one can risk an ankle or a leg for greatness.
I cough quietly.
She turns and is about to snap when she sees, I think, the outfit that you are wearing. And she says, I was not told. Are you here about patronizing our studio? We do not usually allow the outside into attending our practices, dear? Or milady?
As beautiful um, as the promise of the dancers here and the promise of their advent onto the stage is. I'm afraid that you and I have words to have, Madame. And if you are wise, you will do so forthwith. And I say, and I give her a predatory smile.
I see. You are an associate of that
Let me pause you there, madam, before you commit a solecism and utter a word against my colleague. You are in sufficient difficulty as it is now, and if you desire to dig yourself further, then let it be on your head, but let it not be said that I didn't warn you first.
Of course, I can respect such passion. But but as you will probably know, I have already informed your associate that you are not to have access to my dancers. It would distract them from their necessary practice.
Their practice necessitates their remaining in good health, does it not? And they're not being in fear of their being captured. And I can assure you that the first is in peril and the second exists.
I think that there's almost a little bit, as you are having this conversation, the dance has quieted down a little bit. And several of the dancers are almost circling around you a little bit as you're having this conversation, almost like you're amidst a pack of wolves. And Gagnon is their alpha.
Good. There's a pack of wolves around the tiger.
I am able to take sufficient care of my flock, milady, without...
You will do as I ask this very moment, or it will be on your head.
Oh, this is definitely a day move right here. What are you afraid is going to happen?
I'm afraid I'm going to have to use force majeure, which would be bad.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I only desire to take her down a peg. I don't desire to humiliate her absolutely and utterly in front of all of her people. No bit of repercussions.
Cool. Give me a roll here with presence then, unless you have something you want to mark.
No, I have well, I believe that I can use my beauty here. And my beauty tells, so maybe I can get advantage without marking.
Which one is this?
That is unquenchable. What is it called? Unquenchable thirst.
I
leverage my physical appearance.
Okay, yeah.
Advantage.
Cool.
I made an
an
entrance specifically for that purpose.
Yeah, go ahead. Give me a roll with advantage. Okay, so that is a...
Well, that is a 12.
Yeah. I think that there is a real moment of uncertainty in her eyes. And I think that you have definitely broken her a little bit. Just enough to what you needed. Of course. I understand that you are here to, and she forces the word out, help. And she pulls and she gives a gesture to the children, to the dancers, and they pull back behind her. You will have our cooperation for the time being, lady. And I think it's at that moment where the Chopin has died out a little bit. And instead, a unearthly singing is heard from somewhere in the building. And she looks about a bit confused. I've hired no singers for this performance. And that is a mastermind clue that you are getting here. An unearthly singing is heard.
When she retreats, my demeanor changes completely to forbearance and kindness. Thank you so much. I am sure that with your cooperation, we will resolve this matter swiftly to our mutual benefit. I say as if I hadn't been ready to tear her head off the moment before.
Yes, of course. And it's not just being taken down a peg by you. There's something a little bit strange about her demeanor now. Almost like this singing is distracting her. And you can even note that as the practices begin again, all of the dancers that were once dancing to the beat that she was beating out for them are now dancing to the beat of this song that is emanating from somewhere deep within the building.
Fascinating. All right.
What do you do?
Perforce, I'm going to have to find the source of this song.
Great. I'm gonna shift things over to Silas. Silas, you are arriving. Are you like paying a call, or are you like sneaking in, scoping the area out? I'm wondering what kind of investigation are you conducting?
Yeah, I think I'm just paying a call, assuming there's nothing that has happened at St. James Street that would make that unreasonable at this point.
Yes. I mean, as you arrive, there are several bobbies out front, and they glance at you a bit suspiciously, but when you mention Hargrave House, they look at each other and shrug, because of course most of them have been instructed to, make way when Hargrave House makes an appearance. But inside, go ahead.
Do we know why they're here? Is this about the original killing?
Maybe.
I mean, I would start by asking them what's going on.
Well, we first got called in earlier today by Mr. Pettigrew, PI Pettigrew, by Mr. Pettigrew about apparently there was what they think is an abduction. The daughter of the house went missing after there was a visit from some sort of exorcist or something. I don't really know the matter, and I don't know what kind of man would invite an exorcist into his house. But then to make matters worse, the the cook has gone missing. And they found blood downstairs, and they found blood in the cellar. They think she was involved in the kidnapping somehow, and maybe I think she was involved in the kidnapping somehow, and, well, her compatriot turned on her, but nobody listens to me.
You know, those exorcists are all charlatans anyway. You're better off putting your trust in Hargrave House, of course. Why don't I take a look around inside, see if I can figure out where this child's been taken or why.
Mm-hmm. I think so. So are you heading to then the child's bedroom, which is the attic?
Let's go with that, yeah.
Yeah, I think that in the attic, it is a place we kind of talked about before. I think there is maybe still the blood stain in the floor, because the constable did not mention it, since why would he? There was also a dog that got killed here a little while ago. Kind of ripped apart as if by a wild animal. I think there's still definitely the blood stain from the dog on the floor, but otherwise this is a bedroom for a young child, perhaps of 2 or 3. There is still a cradle for them to sleep in. Probably actually more 2 then, I think. But I think the thing that is notable up here is that there is let's see here. Where do I have this? A man in a spotless tweed coat with a tidy mustache, who is smoking from his pipe as he is inspecting the room. He looks up at you and says, "Now, who are you from? You're not one of my men."
Well, I'm from Cincinnati, but why do I feel like that's not the question you're asking me?
No, I'm here on behalf of Scott. I'm here investigating a abduction. But before I answer, may I know who I am talking to?
You can call me Snake Eyes. And if I might have your name as well.
And who do you represent?
Well, I represent me, but in addition to that, I'm here with Hargrave House.
Hargrave House. Of course you would be involved in this somehow. I am Pettigrew, PI, or D. Sorry, I realize it's DI, not PI. I'm thinking of a American term. Detective Inspector.
I see.
Have I been called in to clean up another of your employer's messes?
Oh, I don't know about that, but I do think things at this address have been getting a little out of hand. I suppose the other folks over at Hargrave House have maybe gotten a little carried away in my absence.
Yes, out of hand. That is exactly the sort of amount of care I would expect Hargrave House to take in a dead maid, a missing child.
Well, now, I'll have you know that situations that are out of hand are my specialty.
Fine. Your specialty, I understand. Do what you will. I but know that I will be keeping an eye on you. Hargrave House has been given too much leniency in my view, and it has already cost at least one life. I will not have it cost the life of the Beale's missing daughter.
I'll sort of tip my hat at him and give him a smirk and say, well, when I start to work my magic, I'll be sure to get your attention.
He grunts and takes a deep pull on his pipe. I'm sure. What do you do up here?
I think let's see. Trying to decide whether if it's coming towards dusk at this point, I think I am I'm actually examining things closely, but also sniffing around a little bit physically.
Cool.
And trying to figure out trying to identify the smell of the child and also the smell of the child's abductor and what they might have touched in here.
And what stat do you think you're? It sounds a little bit like reason, maybe vitality or sensitivity. I'd say probably reason is the most obvious one. Vitality, I feel like you'd have to actually push like the physical angle a bit more.
I'm fine with reason.
Cool. Do you have any of your personal quarters you'd like to mark here to give yourself advantage?
I don't think so. Not this time.
Cool. So yeah, give me a 2d6 plus reason then.
And this is this the information move or is this the?
This is the information move.
I got
Cool.
a 9.
I think that there, as you are searching the room, I think that your eye catches on the small window that looks out from the attic. And it should look out onto the street, but it instead is looking out onto a not onto the street, but onto a country house that appears to be on fire. And you can feel that heat fill the room as you look, and your eyes are pulled in by it. And you can take the condition moth to the flame. And I think if that's cool, we'll end the day phase on that image and go into desk now.
Yeah.
Cool. So, starting in on our desk, does anyone have any moves that trigger during the desk phase? Which I believe we now do have someone.
Yes.
A couple actually, yeah.
Yeah.
You better roll well on this one, Rory.
Indeed.
Yeah, you're both the monster boys right now.
Oh, you'll be rolling the beast move. Yes.
Yeah. And of course, these moves are just the same as any other moves. If you want to mark something from your personal quarters to give yourself advantage here, you actually can, I believe.
Or put on a mask after.
Yeah.
In this case.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to narrate anything for my miss on the quickening, but I'm gonna put on a mask either way.
Well, the quickening has as an option, you may not want to take it. The 6 is that you can always choose to bump it up to a partial, but you're not able to declare an action for the night phase, neither you or the person who is helping you bump it. Because on a 6, just as a thing, one of these happens. You either return this character and tell the keeper to put the curse into play, or as a one-time thing, reveal your curse to another hunter and ask for their help in controlling you this night. If they agree, neither you or they or you can take any action that would trigger a move during the upcoming night phase, though you should narrate something showing the curse character is being controlled through the night. But you can still go ahead and mark that mask.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a 1. I thought it was reason.
Oh, you have a 1?
It
So
is
yeah, it's actually
yeah, so I got a 7.
It's composure or sensitivity, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, good. So it's a
So it is a 7.
Cool. So in that case, you manage to keep the quickening in check, but just barely. Take the condition drained.
Mm-hmm.
And Rory, what are you gonna get for your oh boy.
Wow.
So this is actually really bad for you, Rory. Because you're both gonna need to mark a or actually no, for a miss. What happens on a miss for your move?
I think it's just a regular miss. I don't think there's a specific outcome for it.
I see. And some of our
Yeah, it's about the connection to the beast. So.
Yeah, I'm just
maybe
seeing
the beast bites you on the leg.
It's been I don't think we've gotten a miss on this one yet. Just finding the move here. Here we go.
This is the cosmic passage, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess the question here is that, like last time, you kind of lost yourself to the beast a little bit. You're already bloodthirsty. So the question I'm going to throw out to you here is, are you willing to let the beast drive you for the night, and you'll find out where that leads you?
Yeah, I think so. I think that sounds interesting.
Oh, why not? You know, what bad thing could happen, really?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So yeah, and what mask are you marking, Silas?
I'm not marking a mask. I got a 7.
Oh, right. You got a 7. Yeah. Okay, so that takes care of our dusk moves. And I will throw out now. See, have we actually named the parlor? Is there a parlor here?
I put the tracker in the rooms in Hargrave tab.
Yeah. Okay. Where is that? Here we go. Yeah, I guess we've already determined the salon. So I guess what we will do is we'll go up on the reception hall. Do you the reception hall is do you feel unsettled or at home when you enter Hargrave House? What do you perceive in the reception hall that reinforces this feeling? And we'll go by character keeper order this time. For our American, Silas, do you feel at home or unsettled when you enter Hargrave House?
I think I feel at home. And what makes me feel that way is there is a trophy mounted on the wall in the reception hall, a horned elk. And I know this is probably some supernatural creature, but I used to hunt elk back where I came from. And it makes me feel like I belong.
Great. Countess Annalise.
I feel unsettled when I first come into Hargrave House. Not because there's anything wrong with the reception hall, but because the reception hall reminds me of home. It is not dissimilar to the palace, the entrance to the grand house where I grew up, and that does not have good memories anymore.
Great. And Rory.
Yeah, I think actually mine is a very similar answer to the Countess. I think the entrance hall unsettles Rory, and I think again it is that almost that familiarity that is unsettling. The house he grew up in was nowhere near as grand as Hargrave House, but much like Hargrave House, it's a it came from a house of hunters, and I think that just the there's always that same sort of feeling of the burden of duty as he enters the place.
Great. And then Kazuku.
Yeah, Kazuku feels quite welcome and feels at home when they enter Hargrave House, because this is the only family they've ever really known. And often Countess Annalise is there with a gift or a morsel or something to welcome them home. So he feels quite well a part of the residence.
Great. So, and I think I'll just do a few more things and then we will kind of take our break. The first thing I want to ask is, what do each of you plan on doing with your night phase? I'll go character keeper order again, might as well. Silas, what do you plan on doing with your night phase?
I wanted to try and pursue this this abductor, although I haven't actually found any clue as to where he might have gone. But maybe I just follow this.
If you
this
want to
vision
have
of this
caught a
country
scent
house.
of the child, you could have, because that's what you described fictionally happening.
Okay.
Cool. Annalise, what were you going to do? Oh yes, I mean, we know a little bit what you were planning, but oh, you're muted.
Yes, I don't know how much time it's going to take, but if it obviously if it's something significant, then that's what I'm doing. And if it's a brief encounter, then I may go and help Silas.
Mm-hmm. Great. And Rory, what are you doing with your, well, we'll find out what you're doing with your night phase. That was the consequence. Kazuku,
Yes.
what are you doing with your night phase? Sorry, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
No, I was going to say, I think Rory's intention was going to be to go and break into the ballet and have a snoop around, but obviously that's remains to be seen what happens.
Great.
I do tell Rory that that Miss Gagnon. No, actually, I guess I don't have the opportunity, but I will, when the opportunity arises, tell Rory that Miss Gagnon has kindly changed her mind.
Mm-hmm. And then Kazuku, what are you doing with your night phase?
Yeah, Kazuku is going to visit Ms. Salamon and hopefully get some guidance.
Hmm.
Who's Miss Salomon?
She is, Rabbi Salomon is the woman who, she's a patron of the ballet. She's the one that brought this case to your attention.
Ah, okay, yes.
Cool. So, and before we jump in and before we finish things out, I'm just gonna take our break. But first, I'm gonna introduce our unseen for the night, which is the first row, column L, Madame Morvaine's Boy Tour, powdered princelings and delightful demigods, all agape for your amusement. Madame Morvaine's famous guidebook is a walking tour of all the best male prostitutes in London. Ship Captain Jackson Flint Broadmoor has just come in for a 3-day port-o-call, the well-worn guidebook clutched beneath his arm. So that is our unseen for the night. I think where we are going to open is on Countess Annalise. Why don't you describe for us what is the feeling that this music that this singing inspires in Countess Annalise as we see her walking through these labyrinthine underground halls that sort of feed into and support the upper stage of the dance hall.
Could this be tied into what the Countess thinks it might be?
Sure.
Or shall I not take
Go
a
ahead.
guess at that? The feeling that this inspires in the Countess is haste. Because she thinks that this keening is the wailing of a banshee, which is a presage of death.
Mm-hmm.
That would be not that Titania would necessarily send such a one, but where her influence is, then creatures like that will be. And she needs to be there, if not to forestall the death, then to at least to bear witness to it. So she is filled with apprehension and the need to take immediate action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we see you emerging into this voluminous like costume storage space. There are racks upon racks of men's and women's costumes stored seemingly kind of forming almost the sort of hedge maze like feel to the room. And at the center of it all, where your ear is drawn, is to this record player that is spinning and spinning. And we see the Countess Annalise reach out and lift the needle, but the singing doesn't stop. And that's when we hear a voice call out amidst the singing. I thought that I would never see anything as beautiful as the dance. The flying of bodies across the stage. Such grace, such perfect form. But I have met a new mistress beyond the ballet. A mistress that understands why we should not settle for mere mortality, but stretch towards the immortal. And you can hear someone stepping amidst the costumes about you. Someone is lurking in this room, tracking you like prey. And I'm going to go ahead and announce, because you've hit 5 mastermind clues, the Nutcracker is now a servant of Titania.
I will not be skulked after like some frightened damsel in an alleyway outside. I am who I am, and you will kindly show your face or be known as a thing that must lurk in the shadows to validate itself.
I think that, as you say that, you can hear a creaking just under the singing that continues, and it is growing louder and louder, almost like that death it is foretelling is yours. And then that creaking becomes crashing, and you realize that all about you, those racks of costumes are being pushed over and crashed down to the ground. And if you don't do something, you will be here at the center of it, crushed under them.
Then I will make a move as quickly as I can towards the door.
Cool.
Saying, hide then, but no, we'll find you.
Cool. Give me what are you afraid is going to happen here?
Let's see.
What was that?
Trapped underneath a bunch of costumes, at the very least.
Oh. I think trapped is the least of your worries. Because after all, the Nutcracker does not wish to work with mere mortal flesh anymore. He wishes for something more than that. He wishes for your flesh.
All right.
That's the something worse here.
Yes.
Give me a roll and then we will cut. Because I
Okay.
assume you still want to go forward with this.
I do.
Yeah. I think this is with vitality, definitely.
Definitely. I think I'll probably mark an item. Find the most suitable one. Let's see what Kitty has. Carelessly scroll to the bottom of the keeper. There we go. I reach into my bag. And I produce an ornate censer. And I pass one hand over it, and it begins to emit smoke. In great obscuring clouds that swell to fill the room.
Great.
I have no difficulty in finding my way through it, but my attacker may have.
So yeah, give me a roll of 3d6 and we'll keep the highest 2.
So that would be then an 8.
Okay. And Silas, Prince Louis, powdered, soft, covered in yards of satin and lace, invites Captain Broadmoor into his boudoir. What distinctly feminine touches do we see in Prince Louis's room?
We see Prince Louis has struck a pose reclining on a plush four-poster bed, and in the corners of each pillow and in all of the upholstery and the fabric of the room, we can see that all of the scenes have been hidden with little embroidered leaves and flowers.
Great. Kazaku, who was going to meet which of yourselves was going to meet with are you sending to meet with the Rabbi Solomon?
Yeah, it's like a 3-legged church cat.
And I think that it is a cold night, a chilly night to be out on the streets of London. And there are many smells out here that, you are used to. But it is often crowded, sensorily in terms of smell. But there's one that stands out to you because it's one you've smelled before. It's the smell of a dog. And the dog that you killed at St. James Street. And I think that's when you see it prowling after you, following you along the streets and rooftops. It is a dog, yes, the one that looks so much like the one you killed, but it's bigger now and bloody. You can see the claw marks that your fangs and claws left in it as gashes that don't close. It's here for you, the ghost. It had gotten a taste of you before, and it wants all of you now. What do you do?
Yeah.
Because you're not making it to the Rabbi Salomon's house tonight. The ghost is free to roam as it wants. And what it wants, we established earlier in the first session, is you.
Yeah, I think
What? I'm such a scaredy cat. I think that I'm Kazoku must be feeling very guilty because I don't think he was entirely himself when he would perform the action he did today at St. James Street. And he's feeling like he's deserved of this, that of course a ghost would be hunting him in the same way that he has taken others' lives, they want to take his. And Kazoku in the form of the church cat will escape for a time and go through gardens, go through rooftops, do his best they can until they tire, and then they resolve themselves and turn to face the creature. Perhaps, within in view of the garden of the Covent Garden, but at a distance on a rooftop. It is a cold dark blue sky with the ice forming along the lips of it, and he, steeling himself, turns to face the predator to become the prey.
Oh man, so is this a night move you're pushing for here? What do you want to happen?
I think what I would want to happen is to either have one of my cats be consumed, and I need to mark a mask, but to be parted with a part of myself in a kind of OBS, like in a.
Yeah, this is I think though, you just want it to take the cat. You don't want it to take you.
It doesn't want to take me, but I do wonder.
Yeah.
In what way?
Maybe
I could ask for forgiveness.
Yeah, this is
Sure.
definitely composure here, a night move. And you are most beloved.
I
So
am.
I'm gonna ask a roll of disadvantage here. What are you afraid is going to happen?
I think it will destroy me in every bit of my being.
Oh, that's not the worst thing that will happen.
Or it would take possession.
The worst thing that will happen is that it will subvert you. It will take all those parts of you, all your memories, and use them to grow, to make itself not just a wandering spirit. It's going to make itself a god of all the stray animals of the city. Do you still follow? Do you still go through with it?
I do.
I have a question.
Yes.
If I may. Since Kazoku is kind enough to let any of us use their items, is it possible that Kazoku could use a personal item of mine, which is very thematic?
I don't think so. The thing is, sharing personal items is very mechanized. Like there are ways
that's fine.
There's just get your personal items.
There's just something very appropriate.
Yeah.
Countess Annalise, you could tell me even if I don't use it.
Yeah.
Doesn't use it. What were you thinking?
Oh, what I was thinking was, well, I have a mastiff that can only be seen by moonlight.
Oh,
and
wow.
is clearly no natural creature, and could attack the ghost and distract it for long enough
that might
to
come
allow
up in
you
the
to
fiction.
get away.
We can still have that be in the fiction. It's just that it cannot benefit.
Johan is. I would like to say that Johan is lurking about for your protection. At night only, of course, because that is the only time that he can actually exist.
Awesome. Ben, give me this roll 3d6. Keep the lowest 2 unless there's something you have to mark.
Yeah, I have a haunted wax doll.
Okay.
And I think whatever spirit in the wax doll might be there to give me strength.
A little girl doesn't want her kitty to die.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So yeah, give me a 2d6 plus composure here.
D6. Google, please go. I have a 6.
Total?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that we will take a moment here and actually no, I have a point here. So what I said happens as you feel this animal claw into you and snap up this morsel. It is not simply it is not simply eating you, eating this morsel. It is clawing into you, sucking you down and drinking you up. Until finally you're gone. And in place is this new being, this thing that styles itself a god. Do you want to mark a mask?
I think I'll take the blood-soaked portal.
Okay, what's your blood-soaked portal?
I just narrate a scene where I lose all control of my identity and it is dispersed. And then I'm supposed to ask my fellow hunters who, if anyone, will care for me now. I'm not sure how they would interpret that in this case.
I have a thought. Because since Silas is tracking the spirit, the partial here, I'm gonna say will knock you up, is that this I'd say you probably have is this the right word I'm looking for? Yeah. You talked about feeling this guilt. And you are just letting him, like, I feel like there's almost, you're giving in a little bit, right? To just let him do this.
Yeah.
And it feels good. It feels like it's what you deserve. And I'm going to say shriven of body and soul. If that's cool as a condition you have.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing the blood-soaked portal, so it would be me leaving the game for this character.
Oh, okay, I see. You're doing the blood-soaked portal. Sure. In that case, sorry. I misunderstood that, but I think yeah, in that case, let's cut for a moment. I'm gonna go to a I forgot what blood-soaked portal is. I'm sorry. I misunderstood what you were saying. Rory, going to the next of the unseen. Anthony the Adonis, whose body is rubbed with golden powder. How do we know Anthony is dying of consumption?
Yeah, so I think Anthony has is obviously he's being powdered with this gold powder, and he has wrapped around his like biceps these two big like golden like torques with those sort of like snake head patterns on them, but we can see that they keep slipping down as he's clearly lost a lot of definition, and as the night goes on and we see kind of finger marks marking the sort of taking off the layer of gold powder from his skin, we can see underneath it looks pale and sallow.
Cool. And so I will cut here then. Silas, you are following the scent in the night, and then you smell it, blood. Something is being killed near you. And I think that's when you see a great dog, but you can definitely tell it is something that has no right to be alive, how badly wounded it is. It is clutching a half alive cat in its mouth, flinging it back and forth, trying to as the cat is barely fighting for its life. And I think you recognize it as one of Kazuku's bodies. And you recognize the dog as something at least possessed by your pursuit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when we see Silas on screen, he's sort of pale and sweating, both from the curse and from his experiences at St. James House. He pulls out a handkerchief as he watches this scene and sort of wipes the sweat away from his eyes, and draws his gun and aims carefully, and then thinks there's no way that cat has survived, but at least I can take this creature with it. And squeezes the trigger several times and is basically trying to riddle this thing with bullets.
Cool. And I assume you're marking your drain, but you can mark your well, without marking, you get to just get advantage when you use your gun. So you can roll straight with vitality here, I guess.
Yep, sounds good. Oof. It is a 4. I assume this was the night move, right?
Oh yeah, I should have asked. What are you afraid is going to happen here?
I am afraid that that guns are no longer any good here, and I'll only make it angry.
I think that the way it's worse is that you'll only make it angry, and that whatever you're going to do here is going to destroy anything that is left of Kazuku. And I will now, as we see these, like, describe for us how you are firing, like how these bullets like plunk into its flesh with seemingly no, like plunk. Actually, no, we'll get to that in a sec. But we'll cut again, and let me see here. Ben, Gianni, an Italian temple. Olive-skinned, breathtaking. How do we know Gianni is having the time of his life?
Oh, it is his song. It is a song which, like a banshee,
foretells a little death toward the end of the evening, though it is not a death of blood, but a death of, well, let us say another substance. And we just see the silhouette of him in a wriggling bed of many forms, many bodies, all coming together in one spirit and dissipating amongst each other, as if they're not a family, but of one intention, and that intention is to truly enjoy life to its fullest.
Great. Rory, what was your dream? What was the last dream you remember just before you wake up?
I think that Rory was dreaming of being on the hillside, overlooking Loch Lomond, lying amongst the flowers, the golden sun beating down on his skin in a rare, bright, sunny day. Yeah, I think that's kind of the you know where he was last he remembered.
Great. And let's see here. Cool. As you awaken, you are greeted by the lovely scent of raw meat. And let's see here. Where did I have that? Sorry, I have so many of these open. Yeah, here we go. You're in a threadbare room. A threadbare room high above the streets of Miswell Hill. You can tell that much. There are books and scattered and crumpled pages everywhere. But the thing that draws your most immediate attention is the body of Algernon Reimer. And it looks like he has been clawed apart by the beast you hunt. But you can feel under your own fingernails his blood caking already. What do you do?
Yeah, I think he's going to walk over to the body and just put a hand to it to see how, does the blood still feel warm? Has this happened recently? That kind of thing.
Oh, it is cooling. It is no longer like this is definitely a body that is dead. There is no longer blood pumping, but it is pooling, but there still has some hint of warmth to it.
Yeah, and I think he'll kind of absentmindedly lick the blood off his fingers and is going to kind of start looking for traces of the beast's passing, where it might have got to, as I think that's his main concern at this stage.
Give me an information move here with
Sure thing.
reason.
That's a 7.
Okay. So
oh, and also I have
oh yeah,
Hunter's Life is a lonely one, so I get an additional clue on the information move at night if I'm on my own. Or well, if I'm not with
okay.
any other hunters. So yeah.
I think as you are searching the room, I think that you get I think you find hidden inside one of the books is as you're kind of tearing things over, looking through, you find that one of the books, it doesn't weigh right, and you find that it is actually just like a cover with like, it is a fake book, and inside is a tube containing a message in a complex cipher that you cannot immediately like decrypt. I also think that you find a clutched in for Algernon's hand is a page torn from Genesis, with all the references to the flood underscored in thick black ink. And I think that as we see Rory reach out for that page, you hear a burbling voice from Algernon say, "I saw what you really were, you know." What do you do?
I think I think Rory's going to let out a kind of harsh laugh and say, "Oh, I know I am too, and believe me, there's not a day goes by that I don't wish I were born. That I don't wish I weren't born a McClellan, but that's who I am, and I don't think there's much that I can do with that while I still live and breathe."
There's a burbling as a bubble of blood kind of blows out from the lips and then pops. "A McClellan. You think you are different from the beast, but I saw your claws. I saw your eyes. I saw the thing inside of you, and the beast you hunt will merely be and the beast you hunt is merely your own reflection."
And I think Rory just nods and says, "Well, that's not like there's a shortage of monsters here in London. What's one more? What's one or two more, let's say?"
And a deep chuckling comes from the corpse. And I think that we will go then. Let's make our cut back to Countess Annalise. Why don't you describe for us, because you got that partial, I believe. How do you barely make it out of this collapsing costume storage room?
I think the door is locked. I turn, I cross my arms. I cross my arms in front of me, and I crash through a window and fall down to the street.
And I think it leaves a single, almost beautiful, bloody line across one cheek. And you can hear a voice call out, "You think that you are so exceptional, Countess, but I have seen the things inside of you. I have seen them as you stalk these halls. And I know just how ugly, just how imperfect you truly are. And you can take the condition imperfect. Unless you want to mark a mass to stop that from happening."
Nope. I sure don't. I still think that was the Banshee. And if it wasn't for me, then it was for somebody else I know. And I would like, if possible, to be there with Silas and cousin Co's dying.
I think that's definitely something we can arrange. And let's see, you're actually, I think, the last person that hasn't gotten a question yet for the evening. So Thomas, a rather plain young man, barely a man really, who is clean and able. How do you know Thomas is doing this out of desperation?
He doesn't know what to do. He has to be taken aside again and again by the manager of the establishment, and given instructions. It's like, no, you do this, and he's kind of gets these instructions wide-eyed, and then nods miserably and goes off to do what he's doing. To don't sit on the gentleman's lap or kiss him or whatever the other intimacies may be detailed.
Cool. And Silas. So the question is, I think as your bullets tear in here, they tear in, and you can hear the slight dying mew of the cat as one of your bullets tears into his little body. And I think that this is like, I'm going to say, like, losing the opportunity to save, if not Kazuku in his hole to save some little part of him. Are you willing to go to have that happen, or would you like to mark a mask?
I'll mark a mask. I'll mark the mask of the past.
Cool.
I'm supposed to do that before the end of the session, right?
Yeah.
I'll just do it real quick now. We see a scene with a young Silas Fletcher, not known by that name, instead known by Maximilian Fletcher, being given a pistol by his father and taught to shoot it. And like, it's like clean and oiled and pristine and probably has never been fired before.
Great. Yeah, and I think that as we open then back on the present, as you fire into it, the beast doesn't howl so much in pain as in annoyance and anger, and drops the cat unceremoniously onto the ground and turns on you. And you can see its piercing, almost human eyes staring in at you, memorizing you for the future. And then, like a mist, it evaporates. And there's just this cat mewling softly. But if the Countess wants to make it out here
Yes,
at this moment.
I do.
I think I might catch the limp body of the cat as it tumbles off of the rooftop.
Yes. Hush. I lay a hand on the cat's fur, stroke her gently, and say, "Oh, my dear. Oh, my dear, I wanted to know you longer this time."
And number. Are you with the feline on the roof, Countess?
Yes.
Yeah.
I envisioned. I'd like to rewind a little bit.
Sure.
I envisioned the Countess escaping from Covent Garden and going to and just outside where perhaps there's there's a church, there's Saint John's, right? And there she would encounter a snow leopard.
Sure. We can then frame
Fine.
this that the Countess is having a separate scene.
Yeah. And that is almost visible. Almost the snow drifts. It's like it moves and it approaches her, almost stumbling as it's and she's just escaped this very disturbing situation, but there is this creature and it locks eyes with her,
And she drops to the ground with her legs tucked underneath her in her dress, and she embraces the leopard.
and
Just wraps and buries her cheek in its fur. And she says, "Oh, my dear, my dear. I wanted to know you more this time."
I'm so sorry. Yeah, Countess, I did not expect to be going so soon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. How can you forgive me?
Oh, Everything that happened will happen again, dear. Please, there's nothing to forgive. Let's just let me sing for you. And if you follow my voice, softly, softly, I will take you to wherever you are bound. Next.
Who will care for those who I've inhabited?
I will, of course, dear. Every one of them.
Thank you.
But now let me sing. And she sings a quiet lullaby that's about death. Sleep still, my darling. Sleep still as death. Holding each spider web. Holding each breath. You're mine till the shadows all disappear. So don't move till daylight, my dear. On a pale charger a rider will ride, roses and whispering close by her side. Perfection won't last and we'll never know why. So let this be the moment we die, we die. Let this be the moment we die.
And that's when the clock bells. Dung, dung, 12 times. And I look up, and the very knowing look that was Kazuku is not there. It is simply a large beast, warm in your lap.
And the Countess cries.
Ooh, and I think on that moment we'll end today's session. If folks have time, nah, I think we'll just do it tomorrow, next week. Yeah, thanks everyone. I had a lot of fun this evening. I'm gonna take us off air now. So I'll be seeing y'all.